and welcome back to Growing Up in America with Faz and Eliza. So today I'm going to introduce you to Tinkercrit. But what is Tinkercrit? Tinkercrit is a seriously fun and creative activity with all the materials in the box. So it gets delivered at your home and then you don't have to go buy the materials because they're just all in the box. But where do you get Tinkercrit? You get it from kiwico.com. So kiwico.com is a really cool site where they offer you all these cool projects and they depend on your age and your interests. So you can have art and geography, you can have culture, but for me, I like science and engineering, so I bought this Tinkercrit. So it gets delivered to your home, and then inside this, there's a project. So I got this spin art machine. You can this part spin, then you can make some really cool art. So I got this spin art machine. So with the help of the spin art machine, I will make my own spin art. So let's get started. So I'm going to build the spin art machine with all these materials step by step, and it said in the blueprints that you might need a scissor from home. So I have this scissor here, and over here it tells you all the steps, and it's divided into 3 parts. So the first part is preparing the box, and I already did that just to save some time. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes. So the first step is preparing the box, and that's what I'm doing right now because you have to create the spin art inside the box. And now I'm preparing the motor, and the motor is a very important step because the motor just has to spin the spin art, and I'm also connecting the wires with these red sticky foams so they don't fall apart. So this is the part where you put the paper on. So I'm putting these sticky foams so paper doesn't slip, and I also have that gear so it can get a nice steady spin. And that's the paint card, so if I accidentally put some paint somewhere else, not on the paper, it doesn't spill out. So the second step that I'm about to do is hooking up the electronics. This is a very important step because if you do this wrong, the motor depends on the battery and the resistors too. The resistors are a very important step, and I'll explain what they actually are. So, like I said, this is a very important step, so I have to make sure that I don't get confused and I do this step wrong. I can't, because this is very important. So this next part is about preparing the electronics, and I have to focus on this one because the battery just makes the whole thing work, so I can't do this wrong because the whole project will be ruined. And that's where I put the resistors. I'll explain it later what resistors are. And then that's where the battery goes. And then I'm putting the battery inside there. And then I'm going to connect the battery to those sticky foams I put in there. And then those sticky foams I'm putting on the back, those will help this part I prepared stick to the box. And I also have to cut that part off, so if you imagine me closing the box, that part will get in the way of the resistors I'll explain later, and also the battery box. So it's important to cut that because it could really mess with the electronics. So now I'm connecting the wires together from the motor and the battery box, because if they're not connected, how will it work? So part B is done and the electronics are working. So you can see that all of them are hooked up, all the electronics are hooked up. And if I turn it on, you can actually see that it works. So the paper will go here, and it's called spin art because the paper will spin and you can actually make spinning art. So you can see that we will put the paper at work, so that's good news. But then the actual success will be when you actually make spin art. But the important thing that I wanted to tell you is about the resistors. So these little resistors, these green things, you can see this white thing is a bare box, but we're focusing on these green little things here. These are called resistors. And they do just like what they sound like. They resist the current flowing through them. So if I just move this pin over here, there's one resistor added. So the current will go through one resistor and then to the motor. So the resistor will slow the current down, and less current will get to the motor. So the motor will spin more slowly, and then I can keep on adding more resistors, and it will keep on making the motor spin slower. And you can also think of this as a kitchen faucet. So maybe when you turn the sink on, then you can see that it spins at full speed. So maybe if I add no resistors, that's full speed. If I turn the faucet a little bit down, then it goes a little bit slower. Then that's one resistor. Then even more, a little bit, 2, and then 3 is like a tiny bit, like maybe it's just dripping, and then off is just like no current going through. So the switch is off, just like right now. Okay guys, so it's the exciting bit. I'm so excited to actually make spin art. But first we have to get ready the pen. So I just got these 3 ready, but I just want to show you how I do it. So I just screw off the cap like this, but then there's also a plug. So let me just put the cap here, and then there's a plug, and then you can put on the nozzle. So if you just like squeeze it just like that, I mean like it might actually just like overflow, and then you might just get, it might get very messy. And don't squeeze them too hard. So I've been waiting for this to actually create spin art. And I'll actually be looking if there's actually a difference between no resistors, then 1 resistor, 2 or 3 resistors. I want to see a difference if there is. So I'm just gonna flat this paint card up, place the paper here, and there's these little like foamy things to guard the paper. So when it's like spinning, it doesn't like fly off. See, it's like guarding them. And there's also this paint guard, so maybe if I like paint it over there and it just doesn't get the box messy. Okay, so let's start off with, let me just catch normal mode. Start off with 0 resistors. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. Oh, that's cool. Oh, there's a bubble. Let's turn it off. And this might take a little bit time because the motor and this disc has a lot of less friction actually. I mean, like when I tested it to see if it works, it took like hours to stop because like there was a lot of friction. Oh, it's starting to slow down. Oh, and there we go, it worked. Yay. Oh, I think I should have put a little bit more paint for this corner. Oh, cool. I think it's so wet. I can kind of see like its shimmer in the light. Now that is cool. That is really cool. Maybe I'll put it somewhere so it can dry. And that's how you make your own spinner machine. Not by yourself, with the kiwi cool. So that was with no resistors, but now I'm going to keep on adding it up. So with one resistor, then two, and then three. And I will see if there's any difference or not. Guys, my project was a success. So you can see that I have 4 papers here, and each represents a different pattern because I did 4. So one has 0 resistors, the other has 1, the next 2, and then the last one has all 3 resistors. So I noticed something different in each pattern. So I can see different patches in each. The first one is actually pretty splattering. It has a lot of splatters and it's a little messy too. And then the second one, it's a little cleaner. And then some spaces don't even have any paint at all. The one with 2 resistors, even cleaner than this one. And then the last one is pretty clean. I barely see any splash. Look at these spaces. So that was a really fun and creative activity, and I really want to get more. And other than resistors, I learned a lot of new forces like centripetal force versus centrifugal force, and this is actually very creative and fun. So I hope I get more of these. And here, if I want more of these, let's just get more of these. Let's place an order for them. Bye! Lisa couldn't just wait for her turn, so the one where I used all the resistors, I let her try.